Welcome, everyone. Today I am joined by Weber of Amets Biotechnology, a company developing innovative gene therapies for rare pediatric diseases. Nick brings experience across scientific research, gene therapy, and biotechnology development. At Amets Biotechnology, he is helping advance therapies for children affected by PFIC2 and other rare diseases where treatment remains limited. Amets Biotechnology has also gained recognition within the European biotech community, including participation in the Innovator's Pitch Challenge at RESI Europe.
For those new to Amets Biotechnology, how would you describe your approach to gene therapy for rare pediatric diseases in a way that resonates with investors?
Well, most current gene therapy relies on the most established vector, which is AAV, but AAV alone does not establish a permanent correction. So in pediatric patients, the result is that as their liver grows, they will inevitably experience a dilution and a loss of the therapeutic effect. So we are focusing on addressing this issue by combining AAV delivery with a site-specific and controlled and safe integration strategy that will allow the therapeutic gene to enter into the genome of the cell so that it remains there as the cells undergo division. So this approach will be essential for young patients, particularly, for example, the ones that we're targeting with our lead indication, progressive familial intrahepatic cholestasis type 2, who will experience a loss of effect as they grow. So our approach will allow that with just a single administration, we can achieve a curative treatment following that administration. And also another way that differentiates us slightly is that we have a very streamlined roadmap. Due to the relatively modest incidence of our indication, we recognize that we need to be very efficient in being able to develop our asset and bring it to the clinical trial at a significantly reduced cost.
Thanks, Nick. You mentioned some differentiation, but what does differentiate your platform or your development strategy in a competitive gene therapy landscape?
Specifically, exactly that. What I mentioned about being able to exert a permanent correction in the cells in the liver of the target patients. This will allow us to truly address monogenic metabolic disorders in the liver that require treatment at an early age. Many of these indications are diagnosed prior to 1 or 2 years of age, and they need to be treated that early. So by developing this strategy, we're creating a platform approach in which we'll be able to then expand to other indications by changing the therapeutic sequence that will be introduced, allowing us to expand the pipeline.
Yeah, and so speaking of pipeline, how do you think about balancing scientific innovation and development feasibility and scalability as you build your pipeline?
So we're really a relatively young company. We just were founded last year. In this first phase, we're really focused on developing our lead asset and preparing it to enter into clinical trial with required milestones that we need to achieve to be able to do that, including some more work in preclinical phase, as well as initiating the regulatory conversations and interactions and the steps that we need to achieve with CMC. But because our approach is a really highly innovative approach that hasn't been tested in the clinic yet, we recognize that this will involve novel approaches, novel methodologies, and we expect to learn a great deal during this process in order to then what we've achieved with the first indication, be able to apply it to other programs in R&D in order that the later subsequent indications and technologies that we develop in the pipeline will be more streamlined. So that essentially our lead indication and our work in this will go hand in hand with scientific innovation as we're going along.
And as you're going along, what key milestones or value inflection points should investors be watching as you advance towards clinic?
We still, as I mentioned, we have a bit of preclinical validation of the combination approach. We have very robust data that shows our therapeutic sequence works in a mouse model of the disease at a slightly older age. We need to show that being able to insert it into the genome at a very young age works and has a lasting effect in very young mice. This will allow us to continue and complete the IND enabling studies. And we're also going to validate in several translational models, including NHP and organoids. And then we're also interacting, as I mentioned, initiating our interactions with regulatory agencies in order to apply for ODD and initiate those conversations to set us on the path to gain clinical trial authorization. We also will be working in CMC to scale up our product in order to demonstrate that we can produce a GMC batch.
And you mentioned some of these, but your current fundraising priorities, what are they? And what types of investors or strategic partners are you looking to engage with?
So we're currently in a seed round, fundraising of a seed round of 2 million euros. That will bring us essentially through 18 to 24 months of runway to be able to complete these IND enabling studies, the application for the ODD, and the initial regulatory interactions. And at this point, we're interacting and communicating with a wide variety of potential investors, from business angels to VC. Particularly, we're for focus, since we are in somewhat of a niche area sector. We're communicating with the VCs that have a specific interest in our sector as well as in our stage of development.
Thanks. And we met Amets at RESI Europe, and you were participating in the Innovator's Pitch Challenge, of which you were a finalist. Congratulations. How did participating in the Innovator's Pitch Challenge shape your investor conversations and visibility?
Yeah, so this was great for the team to be able to participate in that. It allowed us to gain invaluable experience in being able to share our mission and what our project looks like, as well as to receive feedback on our strategic outlook from other partners and from potential investors. It allowed us a great deal of exposure to multiple potential investors, and we've had a lot of interactions, as I mentioned, with them. And then finally, being in that environment allowed us to experience other companies that are at similar stages or other development that it really aligns similarly to us, to see how they are presenting their proposals and their ideas, to really give us an idea of what we can do better ourselves, or to give ideas. It's really a very nice interactive environment to be able to share those types of ideas, learning opportunities.
That's great. Following your recognition at RESI Europe, what are the next key priorities for Amets Biotechnology as you move into your next phase of growth?
So we're in fundraising phase right now. We're trying to finalize that seed stage, as I mentioned. We're also negotiating terms for an in-licensing for an enabling technology that will allow us, as I mentioned, to be able to combine the AAV delivery with safe and controlled targeted integration. So we're initiating activities right now as the company is starting to ramp up in these activities. And yeah, we're working all this together with a pretty small team, but trying to work it all together so that we can continue to advance and develop as we pursue our mission of trying to target and treat pediatric liver disorders that really have a high unmet medical need and that are really in a great need of novel solutions.
May I ask one more question? Tell me about your team. You guys are based in Spain?
Yes. So we're four founders, all with a scientific background. We worked together in a previous biotechnology company that did the very early phase of this development, as well as other indications that have reached the clinic. That company had quite a bit more advanced in terms of fundraising, but we're four scientists that founded the company just under a year ago. We're localized in Pamplona, Spain. We've got it incorporated into an incubator facility that's allowing us to get started with all the things that we have to. Essentially, being scientists, we've needed to learn quite a bit about entrepreneurship and business planning, financial planning, getting all of the different aspects of company creation. That is all kind of new for us, but we're enjoying the progress as we go.
Well, that's what Life Science Nation is all about, helping scientists get ready for the business part of it. So thank you very much, Nick. It was nice to meet you guys at RESI Europe, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.